Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Poetry of Painting. I'm Fiona Hooper, and this is my regular weekly show about art and poetry. Clues in the title, really, isn't it? But there you go. So this week, I don't have my normal background set up tonight, unfortunately. So you've got a lovely, fun, sort of colourful background to look at tonight as well. So we are being joined tonight by the wonderful Martin Goldie, all the way from Scotland, who should have joined us last week, but sadly had some serious tech issues, like no internet, which is a bit of an issue when you're trying to do a live show. So let me get Martin onto the show now. Bear with me. Hi, Martin. How are you?
Hi, Fiona. I'm great, thank you.
Good. It's very
Nice to
good
be
to hear
back.
you. It's very good to hear you because last week you just couldn't get on at all, could you?
Yeah.
So,
No, it was...
yeah. I did read one of your poems for everybody, though, the
Oh,
beautiful
nice.
one, Light and Shade. I only stumbled over a couple of words, which wasn't too bad, I thought, as it's not my poem, but it's still such a beautiful poem that I thought it'd be nice for people to hear it again. Oh, Chris is saying, hi, Fiona, lovely to be with you again. Fingers crossed for the show tonight. Absolutely. Thanks, Chris.
Indeed,
Oh, my
indeed.
fingers disappear when I do that. So, Martin, you'd written the poem for us for last week, which you obviously couldn't do. So, would you like to do that poem for us now? And would you like to tell us a little bit about it first, or would you rather do that afterwards?
Eh, well, I'll read the poem and then we can
Right.
have a chat about it.
Okay.
I'd actually got the wrong title. It was on three, and I took the title as Catching the Morning Rays when it was actually Twilight. But anyway, but
Never mind.
hopefully I've slightly changed it to sort of coincide with the timing of the painting. But here
Right.
it is.
Lovely.
It's frozen sea spumes float on morn's cold weeping sea. On quiet shore a weary world wakes from fragrant dreams of whin and apple blossom, and the bright tune of wren and thrush sung from mint-fringed gravelled lanes that crunched on long missed walks before the end of childhood's end. Beyond the bay the wave-lapped shingle shore, from Catacol's 12th apostle, a weeping wave from shore to ship, tiny in that vast expanse of grey frothing waves, with tears, a prayer, and candle flame to guide doomed sweetheart home from storm. Thank you.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. It's so evocative and emotive. Yeah, that is so beautiful. And that I
Thank
could,
you.
I know it's not particularly warm at the moment, but I could just feel that, the chill and that's coming across there. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks.
Martin. So yeah, so unfortunately the title misled you a little bit on it, but you've come back on that absolutely brilliantly, and it's a lovely poem. So
Thank you.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and so what was sort of speaking to you most? I mean, we've heard the poem, but what sort of feelings did you get when you were looking at the painting?
Well, I'd saw what I thought looked like a small boat in the. I don't even know if it is,
It
but
is, it
to
is.
me it looked like a small boat,
Yeah.
and it it sort of reminded me as there's an island in Scotland called Arran and down off the Ayrshire coast, and it was a very sort of special place for my mum and dad. And
Mm.
on the west coast of Arran, there's a village called Catacol, and it's got 12 fishing sort of cottages, which are called the twelve apostles, and
Ah.
each one has it's got a sort of a light. It's like an upstairs light looking out, or a sort of window, sorry, looking out onto the sea. And the story is that these cottages were built during the sort of clearing time of the clearances, and sort of families that lost their homes to the clearances were rehoused in these fishing cottages, and the men were encouraged to go to sea. And the window was, the story goes, that it would be for the wife to sort of light a candle to alert the husband to come back to shore. I sometimes think it's more romantic, the thought of the candle being in the light to guide the husband in the boat back to shore. So that was the sort of was the inspiration for the
Lovely.
poem. So that was quite a nice poem. Of a
Lovely,
nice
thank
story.
you. Chris said beautiful poem, some lovely descriptive words, and that he's heard about that as well. About
is that right? Aye.
Yeah. So
I think it's quite a tourist attraction, and I think, and obviously there's people living in the houses now, and they've just got used to the fact that every now and again there'll be a bus will stop and take photographs of their house. So that was the inspiration for that
lovely.
poem.
Well, welcome, Angela. Angela's just joined us. You're not too late, Angela. There's lots to look forward to yet. But if you missed Martin's poem to start with, do watch it on the replay because it's a beautiful poem. So, but we're not done with your poetry yet tonight, Martin, are we? Because we had some issues as well with tech troubles a while back, and I ended up reading out your poem on the show rather than, unfortunately, you being able to read it yourself. But as you're here tonight, I would love it if you can read your low tide poem for us. Would that be okay?
Yes, absolutely. I've got it here, so it'd be my pleasure.
Change pictures. So
yeah.
A very different scene, water, but a boat, but quite different otherwise.
And geographically, somewhat south.
Absolutely, yes. But and just a reminder to everybody, please do make comments and ask questions if you'd like to. Please join in, that would be great. So, Martin, over to you.
Low tide, on ruffled edge of empty Broad's rust shore, on earth's soft comfort we brown in endless blue. A slow time cools the long day's heat. In brooding silence, becalmed on quiet sand, our secret whispers rise. With the lonely bittern mute, we stare past rivers' tears to a distant jade horizon, far beyond our tethered boat, drifting softly on Broad's low tide, awaiting patient, restless breeze to sail us home on Angel's Breath. Thank you.
That is, I love that last bit, sail us home on Angel's Breath. That is marvelous. It's, it's lovely hearing you read it as well, rather than, when I read it, I don't have that wonderful Scottish accent, and
I thought you did a good job of it.
Thank you. But no, I love hearing the actual poet read their own poetry, because you get a different take on it as well. When I read it out, it's my understanding of how what emphasis should be placed on different words.
I know, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Chris said it's a brilliant phrase. Absolutely. Sailing home on Angel's Breath. Lovely.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
So Martin, we're very privileged to have you with us tonight as well, because being Scottish and living in Scotland still, there's something rather important happening today, I believe.
Indeed. It's the poet Robert Burns, the Scotland's national poet and celebrated throughout the world. For example, Russia. He's absolutely very, very popular in Russia and has been
Yeah.
for years. He's got a statue in Montreal, despite never being there, and
Gosh.
he's celebrated throughout the world. As you know, his poem "Auld Lang Syne" is sung throughout the world on
Yes.
Hogmanay as we go into the new year, and he's he's very well liked as a poet throughout the world, and particularly in Scotland. His birthday is celebrated every January with burn suppers, and they're sort of quite set out sort of events, and but effectively they're celebrating his poetry, and it's they're well worth going to if you ever get the opportunity.
Yeah.
And
So is it an occasion for haggis and
it's
meats and
yes,
tatties?
that's right. Well, well, one of these they usually they'll pipe in the haggis, and they'll they'll start with the Selkirk Grace, and there's a poem celebrating the haggis that's featured in Burn
Yeah.
Suppers, and then they'll have uh, a, an immortal memory, which is basically an essay, effectively, on an aspect of his life that will be read, and there'll be a toast to the lasses, and there'll be a reply from the lasses, and they're very interesting, and there's some Burn scholars that, that come out with some really interesting sort of memories in Burn Suppers. They're very well worth
Wow.
going to one at some point in your life. But
Yeah. Sounds
yeah,
good. Yeah. And I've got a question for you now. What's your opinion about vegetarian haggis? Because I saw somewhere the other day they had normal haggis and they had vegetarian haggis.
yeah. Well, I'm not a haggis snob, so you're if why would you deprive a vegan or a vegetarian from enjoying the
Yeah,
food of Burns? I've
absolutely.
actually I quite like haggis, and I've tasted vegetarian haggis,
Mm.
and it was actually quite nice. Uh,
Ah, I don't
yeah,
know what they put in it, mind you, but
I'm
no
not
idea.
sure, but it might be sort of corn based. I don't know, to be
Mm.
honest. I'm not sure,
Yeah,
but no, I've got no issue with someone opting for the vegetarian
yeah.
haggis.
Not a haggis purist then.
No, 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 no.
Oh, Ritesh has joined us. Hi, Ritesh. He said good evening to you, Chris, and myself, Martin. So
Hi, Ritesh.
welcome, Ritesh. If you missed Martin's first poems, well, in fact, he's done two poems already, Ritesh. So do watch on replay. Absolutely gorgeous poems. So well worth listening back to as well. But I believe we're actually in for a third poetic treat tonight, Martin, as well, because being Burns Night, I believe you have actually written something for the big occasion.
Yeah, well, I wrote this last year actually, but it's it's for Burns. It's a celebration of Burns, which I'd be happy to read if you.
Please.
It's called Amber Splashed, and it goes: in Scots' fine dress, the sons of Sars resplendent, a whisky lord in old Shanghai, kin of Scots, cold in soil far from Alba, in houses of the holy, in houses of correction, in churches and in chapels, Tory Whigs and Red Clydesiders, Salinger and Shelley in their time, all raised a glass of golden amber, splashed with cold, sweet Afton water, proclaimed as chief the humble haggis, laughed till sore at Tam O'Shanter, cried for bonny Highland Mary, and in their wisdom they sought to know why men each year will find the time to laud a simple ploughman, whose songs of love moved Dylan, whose simple lines of telling rhyme will leave their mark on each and every generation until is sung the final Auld Lang Syne. Thank you.
Oh, lovely. Ah, just so I'm assuming that the amber liquid is the national drink of Scotland.
It is indeed. It is indeed.
Excellent.
Yes.
A good single malt.
There's always whiskey. Yes, there's always whiskey.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ritesh said lovely.
Thanks, Ritesh.
It was lovely. And Angela says, good evening, Martin, as well. So
hi, Angela.
Nice. So that was lovely. And what a treat for us tonight, having 3 of your poems read out. So beautiful. And I know there are obviously very well-known English poets as well. But, do you think that Robbie Burns has encouraged Scottish people to be poets like yourself and your son? Do you think would you say there are more poets per head of population than in England, or is it?
Well, there's a very vibrant sort of poetic scene in Scotland. I don't know if it can be attributed to Burns, but in fairness, Burns, Shelley's mentioned in the poem, and Burns was a great influence on a lot of the romantics like Shelley and Wordsworth and all those poets, and Scottish poets like Ferguson and Tannahill that came from that sort of romantic sort of tradition, and he had a big influence on the sort of 19th century poets. But I don't know if the sort of scene in Scotland can be attributed to Burns. There's a I mean, it's hard to say, but I'm sure he has. I think my poems are some of them are sort of in that sort of tradition, that sort of romantic tradition. Yeah. I think
you have some lovely story poems about the story about them crossing the mountains to get the drugs to save her father, was it? And have I got that one right?
No, there's I'm trying to think. The one I'm thinking of is the coffin trail where the
there was that. Yes, I'm sure you did another one as well that I had in mind, but yes. But Ritesh says he's going to have some amber liquid now.
Oh, nice.
Good for you, Ritesh. And Chris says another special poem on a special evening. Not sure if you'll approve of this one, Martin. He says all we need now is Jimmy Shand and Kenneth McKellar.
No thanks.
Okay, Chris, take that one away. Oh dear. Well, that's marvellous. So what I know there's a very active poetry scene in Scotland. So what have you been involved in many shows lately, or open mics and things like that, Martin?
I did one last night that was meant to be live, but the venue was in the city centre, Glasgow city centre, but there was a big flood, and ended up, luckily, most of the readers were on Zoom, so I got there to find it was essentially cancelled, but there was an IT whiz that worked it out, and we just changed venue to the Mitchell Library, which was close by, and
Right.
we did it there. So I read from there, and the host was there, and the IT boy that
Yeah.
was sorting things for us, and the rest of the poets were on Zoom, and it was effective. It was an address to Burns in a letter. So I did mine on his legacy, and finished it running into Amber Splashed, which is in the theme of legacy, I suppose. And it read quite well, so I was quite pleased with it. And
Yes.
yeah, so
And
I've got
sorry, carry on.
I've got a few. I've got another Zoom coming up in a couple of weeks, which is it's 4 poets. One, in fact, one's from Brighton. I've never heard any of his work, but he's on. There's a girl from Paisley who's a great sort of performance poet, and there's a girl from Moray. She's Irish originally, but stays in Moray. Cat McCulloch, her name is. She's a tremendous poet. So I'm quite looking forward to that, because it's in really good company. So it's one of the you're looking to sort of bring up your game to match, but it will be really good.
That's good.
So I'm looking forward to that.
And is that something that people will be able to listen into as well?
Yeah, it's a SCAP. It's SCAP. I can't remember what the whole what it all means, but it's SCAP, and they're sort of Glasgow based, and but they've had guests from Ireland, and they've got this writer from Brighton on, and they've only really started in the last few months, and it's every month, and they invite 4 poets plus a headline poet, and it's always really good poet. Well, I'm saying always really good poets, he says boastfully, but they have been really good poets that they've got on. So it's
is there a link that you could maybe put in the comments afterwards if people want to be able to listen?
Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll do that.
Yeah. By the way, Angela asked, do you live near the Isle of Skye?
Not really, but I'm in Argyll, which is much further south than Skye, but relatively speaking, it's not. I mean, it's only 100 or I don't know, maybe 100, 150 miles, but it's not that close.
Yeah, and is that all little roads, and it's not just a straight, fast road, I guess?
Well, it's not too bad actually. It's you're basically up through. Depends what way you go, but you're basically up through Glencoe, and then up to Fort William, and then round as if you're going up to Inverness, and then you cut across country west. It's not the worst road in the world. It's all A roads to get to Skye, but it's not M8 or M1. It's not. I'm not that close to Skye.
It's quite a while since I've been up to Scotland. I'd love to go up again. In fact, we have talked about it, so you never know. I might be coming up and saying, Martin, we're going to be up there.
That's right.
Let's meet up. Yeah.
Yes, indeed, that'd be great.
Lovely. So yeah, I used to work a few days a week in Edinburgh mostly,
Right.
but quite a long time ago now. It's probably changed a bit since I was there, and did a few other trips up there, including one to the Cairngorms one Easter.
Oh, nice.
This is when I was a bit younger, and I don't think I would do this now, but we were camping in the Cairngorms at Easter, and each night we had 2 inches of fresh snow on the tent.
I know it's,
And
yeah.
yeah, we woke up in the night a couple of times and heard this really strange noise and movement outside. And it turns out it was some deer
Aye.
coming around and,
Yeah.
having a look to see what was there and probably trying to dig through the snow for some food,
Aye.
some more grass, whatever. But yeah, and it was a really good, well, it was very, very cold. Apart from
Would it
that,
be?
it was really good fun. And we did things like polybagging down the slopes. We didn't have sledges or anything, or, even a lid or anything. So we just got
Aye.
bin liners
Bin bags.
basically, and off you go down the slope and
Brilliant.
avoid the rocks and whatever. So
Indeed.
it was really good fun, really. Yeah.
Great.
I think when you look back, you remember the best bits of it, and
Aye, that's right. You forget the horribles.
yeah, like you tend to forget wearing about 10 layers. Basically all the clothes you've taken with you, putting them all on at night, and still being freezing cold. But yeah, which I'm not quite sure I'd want to do the camping bit now, but
Aye,
love to
well.
go up there again and
So
see.
was it Loch Morlich you camped?
No, it was
Was
actually
it
where was it? It was right by a river,
right?
near Braemar.
All right.
Near Braemar, yeah.
Ah,
And,
nice. Aye.
so
Aye,
it was
that's the sort of eastern end of the
right.
Aye, that's right.
Yeah, it
Aye,
was a
Braemar's
campsite.
lovely. Yeah,
It was a
aye, I know
campsite, but
exactly
it
where you
but
are.
the only
Yeah.
the only facility was the river. That was
Is that
it.
right? Aye,
Yeah,
it's
there were no other facilities at all. It was
no
official.
facilities.
No. So
Dear.
we ended up with, when we'd go for a meal and an evening at a pub or something, we'd end up, because there were two of us girls, we'd take over the ladies basically and,
Aye,
get cleaned up and whatever in there. So,
aye,
because the river was certainly not for getting washed in, because you put your finger in and couldn't feel your finger, it was
aye,
that
be
cold.
freeze.
But
Aye, be
yeah,
freeze.
but it was good
Oh,
fun.
aye, Braemar's lovely. It's really
Yeah,
nice.
it was lovely. So yeah, so just a quick reminder to everybody before we're out of time that I do now have my Poetry of Painting books. One of the contributors, of course, is Martin, with some of his wonderful poetry in there, my artwork and poetry from myself, but also from 10 international poets in there. And it's a superb book. It's $14.99. If anybody would like one, please just get in touch with me. Send me a message or leave a comment, and I can get that organised for you. So I've had some fantastic feedback on the book and really proud of it. It's a brilliant publication, and say it has wonderful poetry from Martin and the other 9 poets in it. So, and the other brilliant thing about it is that every book sold is raising more money for Alzheimer's Research UK, which is a charity very close to my heart, and I know close to a lot of people's hearts as well, because so many people have been affected by the cruel disease. So if you would like a copy, please just let me know. So we're just about out of time, Martin. It's been brilliant having you back on the show. It's been a while, and thank goodness tech has worked for us tonight, and I've loved hearing your poetry. Thank you so much for coming on and reading 3 poems for us tonight and enlightening us a bit about Robbie Burns and Burns Night. And thank you everybody for watching, whether you're watching live or on replay. Don't forget to leave some comments and we will get back to them as soon as we can. So I'll be back next week with another show. So join me then. And in the meantime, have a wonderful week. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Martin, ever so much. And we'll see you soon, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you,
Martin.
Fiona. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.